Namaste, Jai Hind, Vande Mataram. You're tuned into The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan. Viewers, it's entering into day 5, this Middle East conflict, and slowly the tide seems to be turning. The Americans, the Israelis are now claiming an upper hand, and the number of missiles that are being sent by the Iranians are perhaps on the wane. Somewhere one gets the sense that there will be a sudden shift slowly over the next few days, where the Iranians will now be pressed to try and up the intensity. Tom Cooper has been with us right through. He is this evening too. But more importantly, as long as they maintain that chokehold on the strategic Strait of Hormuz, a crucial global oil route that's been effectively closed as Iran restricts shipping, driving oil prices sharply higher and rattling markets worldwide, civilians have borne a heavy toll. Attacks by Iranian proxies, including the Hezbollah in Lebanon, have widened the conflict zone, which strikes into northern Israel and cross-border responses. U.S. forces have also suffered casualties, including the loss of 6 service members in regional operations. Leaders in Washington and Tel Aviv have signaled the fight is far from over, with U.S. officials publicly warning of harder hits to come and projecting that the campaign could stretch into weeks or perhaps longer, while Tehran vows continued resistance and defiance. Now, here are the top lines at this hour. Let's get a quick check. Most importantly, it's come from the Secretary of Defense. Hegg said yesterday in the Indian Ocean, an American submarine sank an Iranian ship, is what he has said, and said that we thought it was safe in international waters to do it. They believe they have brought down the Soleimani, the Iris Dana, which is perhaps one of the key ships in the Iranian naval brigade. The Americans have confirmed it was their submarine that brought it down. Again, multiple strikes jolt Tehran as US and Israeli forces crippled different parts of Tehran, and they were targeted by US-Israeli forces. Israel uses precision bombs to target Iranian defenses, and they are actually claiming it's only a matter of hours, or if not 1 or 2 days, before US-Israel jointly control the Iranian airspace totally. Now, meanwhile, the funeral ceremony for Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in Tehran's Mashhad prayer hall has actually been postponed amid targeted strikes across Tehran, and that itself shows Iran's vulnerability, or perhaps the growing vulnerability. Meanwhile, the Clerical Assembly of Experts has reportedly chosen Mujtaba Khamenei. It's again a departure from the norm. They have elected somebody from the same dynasty, so they followed the dynastic line, which they don't do. Son of the late Ali Khamenei as the next supreme leader, were given to understand under reported pressure from the Revolutionary Guards. Israel, meanwhile, also claims yet another big success. They're targeting the Basij head top-level command and also the IRGC command. They say they have eliminated Rahman Makdam, head of the IRGC Special Operations Department and the main man reportedly behind the assassination attempt on Donald Trump before the 2024 US elections. Also, Saudi Arabia. Now, this is the oil and energy crisis. If there is Qatar Energy that is holding back its production and shutting itself down, Saudi Arabia run Aramco's Ras Tanura loading terminal and refinery complex has been targeted again by an Iranian drone. So the Iranians coming out and trying to say, we're going to hit those who are trying to hurt us where it hurts them. So, so Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, their entire oil rigs and of course their oil pipelines, the LNG pipelines, facilities are being targeted. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi has accused US President Donald Trump of treating nuclear talks to avert a war as a real estate transaction, and accused him of betraying quote-unquote diplomacy and the Americans who elected him. Iran's foreign ministry has warned European countries against sliding towards historical Nazi mindsets by supporting Israel and US. But is Iran fast losing friends is another question that looms large. Also, the Trump administration will host top US defense contractors at the White House on the 6th of March to press for faster weapons production as the Pentagon moves to rebuild stockpiles drained by recent strikes on Iran and, of course, other military operations. Meanwhile, there is more. The IDF has issued an urgent evacuation warning to residents of southern Lebanon, stating that Hezbollah's activities are forcing the Israeli military to operate in the area. So there's much more to share. As we've got you the top lines, we'll also now get you some of the breaking news. Peter Hegseth, and let's try and put it what he's very clearly come out and said. He has confirmed that it is, of course, the Americans and an American sub that actually brought down in the Indian Ocean the Iranian warship, which they call the Soleimani, but it's also codenamed or flagged the Iris Dana. This is the frigate, very key ship among the Iranian Navy, and they say that it was safe to bring it down in international waters, and that's what we have done. Listen.
Ship, the Soleimani. Looks like POTUS got him twice. In the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II.
Wait, that claim by Peter Hegseth brought about a chuckle from Tom Cooper, who's sitting right next to us. So we'll ask him, military historian, why was that chuckle? Because you're saying he's really clueless. He's the US Secretary of Defense and you're saying he's clueless. Lieutenant General D.B. Pandey, Yasmin Madar, also with us, along with Dr. Ranganathan. My namaste and good evening to all of you. Yes, Tom Cooper, why do you think he's clueless?
Because if at all the first such sinking would have been that of the Argentine cruise Belgrano by the Royal Navy submarine Conqueror during the Falklands War in 1982. The submarine fired 2 or 3 torpedoes, and 2 of these have hit and sunk the cruiser with a loss of 300 something of her crew. So when he is now explaining this is the first sinking by a torpedo since the World War II.
First sinking by a torpedo by an American ship, perhaps. He forgot that and then he just jumped into...
You know how it is, Trump government always, we are the first, as the greatest, and then so yeah.
Yes, it is. But kudos to the Sri Lankan Navy. They've been able to save at least 32 because that ship sent out a distress call between 5:08 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. this morning. In fact, we have come for confirmation that even the Indian Air Force had sent out planes, the armed forces sent out planes to just have a look at what's going on. But the Sri Lankan Navy first responders, nearly 100 are feared dead, but at least 30 odd have been rescued by the Sri Lankan Navy. Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, Yasmin Madar also, and Dr. Ranganathan with us. But Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, some of these claims by the Americans, do they sound too tall? Do they get their facts wrong? Or should we just skim that and read between the lines and to see what is it that their strategy is, the way they are pounding Tehran?
So I thank you, firstly, Anand. Happy Holi to you and to all my panelists, even Tom Cooper. Tom Cooper, hats off to you, the way you have been captured there by News18 studio, and he's been able to bear on. I think he's fighting the real war. So, yeah, Anand,
hey, that was brutal on us.
No,
we've treated him fairly, and Tom can say that we've treated him fairly.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you guys do. There's no doubt. I think possibly the best channel. Okay, coming to this very serious business, firstly, I don't think the Americans are making any wrong claims. They are making absolutely right claims, but yes, they are only giving the claims of what they are achieving and succeeding, and that's very, very clear because there are certain mission objectives they had set, and they are going as per the sequence, and this is very logical for any operations to happen. Firstly, you need to seize the air control, and that I think they have been able to effectively do. Please understand that Indians have to also start understanding that taking air control is not very, very easy. In spite of a very rudimentary air force which they have, but a great, not even a very great AD system which Iranians have, it has taken Americans and Israelis, the number one military force in the world, which is by far number one, and then Israelis joined together have still not been able to take full control of airspace. So I think that is one thing which they wanted to achieve, they have been able to achieve. Maybe another day or two, I think they will be flying in like anything without any this thing. The second which they wanted to do, and which is very critical, was ballistic missiles, in which I don't think they were looking more at missiles, but they were looking at the launchers and the command and control thing.
Right.
And I believe what I can make out what is happening, and when I'm watching this thing, virtually they have been able to cripple, but yet a remnant, I think about 30-40% missile launchers continue to remain, because they are the ones who are going to come out and fire, which is the most worrying thing till now. I think
Right.
the day they are able to take control of the ballistic missile launchers, thereafter it will come to actually the third level, in which a proxy war element or IRGC passage element which required to be controlled. But other part, I think, which is also very important, but that is not so important, was nuclear enrichment or enriched nuclear capacity, because that truly was not of a concern to Americans. It was surely a concern for the Israelis, but not for Americans. That also, I think, they have been able to degrade to a...
You know, here,
some degree.
interestingly, we'll come to what Hegseth said about the airspace. But Navy, see, one of the things Trump has been consistent about, he may vary about other things, he said we want to take down their Navy. Now, how critical is that with respect to the Strait of Hormuz? We will try and, get to that in a bit. And we'll speak with Yasmin also once I just share Yasemin also. Once we just share what Hegseth said about the airspace. He said that soon US and Israel will have complete control of Iran airspace. Iran can no longer shoot the volume of missiles they once did, even not close. Let's listen to what he had to say.
The two most powerful air forces in the world will have complete control of Iranian skies, uncontested airspace. I hope all the folks watching understand what uncontested airspace and complete control means. It means we will fly all day, all night, day and night, finding, fixing, and finishing the missiles and defense industrial base of the Iranian military, finding and fixing their leaders and their military leaders.
Okay, right. Okay, what we've done is we've just got Tom right here on the board. Yes. Now, what does this mean if they have complete control of the Iranian airspace? What does that mean, Tom?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still not buying that they have total, complete,
They are
super
saying
trooper,
very soon they
but
will.
they say that in that regard. So what this means? It means that they have gradually destroyed the air defense system or subsystem in the Tabriz area, another in Shiraz and Esfahan areas, another two, and the one protecting Khorramabad Karaj area. So now this means, just a second, that they are moving, and this was confirmed by a report from this morning, that an Israeli F-35 has shot down an Iranian Yak-130.
Okay.
This is actually a training jet in the Tehran area. So yesterday we have heard that they are heavily striking Karaj area, west of Tehran.
Correct.
Which means they have probably neutralized Iranian air defenses in this area, forced them survivors to withdraw to Tehran, towards Tehran or even east of it.
Right.
And now they are trying to do the same. One of the US admirals has explained that we are through in the south, we are moving in, which means they have probably suppressed the air defenses in this area and are trying now to operate deeper over Iran. Possibly, not probably, via Pakistani airspace as well.
Okay. The Iranians have also said that Pakistan is offering their air bases, and the Americans are moving in from Pakistan.
IRGC has claimed that Pakistan is letting both American and Israeli aircraft. It's probably just American aircraft, because Israel has no point in flying all the way around or something over Pakistan.
Right. So the Israeli aircraft will now fly over the Syrian airspace and the Iraqi airspace, and then keep entering from this direction. Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah, Israeli aircraft are still flying their usual route over Syria and northern Iraq, over Jordan, towards Iran. That is less of a problem. This is just the usual story with US tanker aircraft in this area. This is a joint of Syrian and Iraqi border. Refuel and then go into Iran, over western Iran.
Right. Now, General Pandey, just quickly before we bring in Dr. Ranganathan and also Yasemin, the moment there is air superiority and dominance all over Iran, then does that mean that Iran then loses this 30-40% remaining capacity to fire its launches? What they have is those 3.5-ton trucks, which the Israelis are also watching and taking out. There were some 3 or 4 videos of such trucks which could be carrying these mobile missile launchers all across Iran from where they could launch at will. Do you think now, if they are moving in from the west, they also are moving in from the south, the Iranians will now be pummeled far more than what they have been now, and it makes things much more difficult for them?
Yeah, so I'll just a little bit disagree, which I don't want to do because Tom Cooper is the expert. Please understand this thing that in Lion Rise, virtually in about 8 days, Israelis, without the assistance of the Americans, were able to take control of the air in Iranian space and more towards the western side, because that is where they meant business.
Yeah.
Right? That is where they wanted to neutralize. If you look at all their nuclear sites and the ballistic missile sites, they are all concentrated towards the western side.
Right.
The southern side were technically out of reach of the Israelis, in spite of all the resistance. So they were able to seize control, and that is why Midnight Hammer happened. So without any problem, they were able to suppress it. Second is not only by fires they're getting it, they are also getting it through a lot of electronic warfare system which they suppress, they use also from
Massive
inside.
volumes.
Yeah.
The second is why they have gone from the southern side this time. The Americans are going from southern side is because they want to control the Hormuz, anything which is flying over, which is likely to difficult.
Exactly.
The naval ships, the naval bases, all the midget submarines, they are going to actually ensure that the so-called fear of the world that Hormuz is going to be blocked is going to be taken out. Right? And very interesting, Anand, which Tom should also maybe talk about. Houthis are not involved.
Yeah.
Houthis have totally bought. You see, they were the most important edge of the proxy. Houthis have not fired for last 8 months. They have been bought off. There cannot be a major shift in this thing. But yet, don't give in to Iranians. Iranians have understood the lesson. They got tunnels. And if you have taken any experience from the Hamas, they got kilometers and kilometers of tunnel in which AD will reside. But then, when you're going for a war and an operation, I think the Americans and the Israelis understand they are going to take some sort of a casualty and flag. But till now, on the Iranian space, they have not taken a casualty, and that's credit to them.
Right. We're going to get inside the war room with Tom Cooper and General Pandey by 7:30, just in about 15-20 minutes from now. So we'll keep the Strait of Hormuz conversation till then. Tom, come back on. Let me ask Yasemin. Yasemin, what's your thought? What do you think is going to happen going forward? What do you think is going to happen? Do you see certain protests coming out in the coming days out on the streets? Because one of the biggest things is, if there's got to be a change from within, people will have to start coming out. So what is your network of Persians all across the world saying? You're on mute, Yasemin.
Very difficult to predict. One thing we can say is that the fact that Iran has lasted so many days in terms of its air force is actually surprising, given that 2 of the largest air forces in the world were attacking it.
Right.
In terms of the population, I can't see any sign. People are angry, but now their anger is no longer with the government, because the government is weak now. Their anger now is with the invader. It's inevitable. When you go to a war situation, people become patriotic, even if they don't like their own government. And what happens then is much more difficult to predict. We are seeing the reverse of what we were seeing in January. The larger crowd are for the government, not against it. Or if they're not even for the government, they are for nationalism. They are against the attack.
The invader.
The invader. And in a way, I thought that's why the US didn't intervene in January, because they knew if they intervened, it would reverse the protest. But for whatever reasons, they've decided to go now. So I can't see protests being strong enough to confront this huge crowd, whether we like it or not. The government can master large crowds. What they will need is troops on the ground. And here for the US, there is a problem. I see the CIA is advertising recruitment of Kurdish forces. Yeah? Again, that's more problematic. There will be Kurds who will volunteer. Maybe there are Kurdish organizations already in the pay of Pentagon. One or two of them we know. But it's going to be enough. I mean, even within Kurdistan, there will be conflict. There will be those who don't want this.
Right.
So it's going to be very difficult to predict. I would say it depends on how badly the regime is defeated or how they react to defeat. These are all different scenarios.
Yeah, there are, and you've laid them out quite well, because if there has got to be an outpouring on the streets, then the bombs from the skies have to stop, because otherwise they would consume these protesters as well. Dr. Ranganathan, you think the tide is turning over the next 2 or 3 days? You would see far more inroads being made by Epic Fury.
Good evening, Anand, and good evening to my fellow panelists. By the way, the Austrian embassy has complained about CNN because you're holding an Austrian hostage there. So there is another conflict that's starting, so please be very careful. I just thought I'll warn you. Three things. Number one.
See, he just said the wife is complaining. He didn't say about himself though. Anyway, go ahead, please. Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right about the success of the military operation of Operation Epic Fury. I think within a matter of days, they are, both Israel and America, and anybody else who wants to join in, is going to have complete control over the Iranian skies, and it will be complete monopolizing any military action over Iran. But there comes the problem. If the regime does not switch, or if the regime does not go away, this present dictatorial regime, then this augurs tremendous problem for America. Let me take you back to the Gulf War. In 1990, within a matter of a month, the Americans and the coalition allies had complete control over the airspace of Iraq. But did they materialize a regime change? No. For the next 15 years, you had Saddam Hussein, who was even more brutal than he was before the Gulf War. And therein lies the problem. The fact is, if the regime does not change, you will have increasingly a lot of collateral damage. You already saw how people are amplifying within America the terrible accident that happened in the school where 160 odd girls were killed. Now, slowly, that's going to happen and mirror what happened in Gaza. I mean, initially, the genocide was perpetrated against Israel. But then as Israel took, defended itself and, basically took revenge for what had happened, the narrative completely shifted against Israel. And that is what's going to happen. Israel can withstand it. Other nations can withstand it. I don't think Trump will be able to withstand it, because already there are voices that are coming up that the entire thing was basically orchestrated to keep the Epstein's files in the background. So I think the narrative out here is not so much military, it is on the media as well.
Well, see, one of the things that came out, yes, General Pandey, is the fact that Trump was coaxed into action because 88 of these people were coming down under one convention center, and if there was a chance to get them, this was it. That's what the Israelis told them, confirmed intelligence, and they got the Khamenei on the first night. So they've got the big guy, they've got the big villain, the biggest of them all, the one who was orchestrating it all. They've got it. But what do they do next? The other thing is, now they've got to make sure that they don't come back. They don't strike back. There is no 9/11. There is no repercussion in the next 6-8 months or even the next 2 years. And how do they do it in such a way that they puncture this regime altogether? It's not that easy. And when you wade into something like this, you want it to be short and sharp. And things are different from the 90s to now. The whole dynamics of war has changed. The whole dynamics of getting into a nation, engineering a regime change or neutralizing perhaps a perceived terrorist or terror to the world has changed. The dynamics have changed today. Yes, General Pandey, and then we'll get into the Strait of Hormuz conversation. So we'll walk back with Tom there. But yes, General Pandey, please make your point. Yeah.
Look, what happens, I am absolutely apprehensive of going against Dr. Anand, because he's far more knowledgeable and, way beyond, and he's very articulate. But please understand, don't ever think that this is Trump's war. This is the war of US. There's a deep state. There's a strategic orientation. These people are much more smart. I'll just try and tell you, please just look back a little bit. Same ISIS Julani, who was having $10 million worth of thing on his head, became the toast of Americans and the Western powers. And Saeed was the chap, that Syrian guy, was taken out. When you look at all that, and then when Operation Landrise happened, Midnight happened, when you're looking at the flight path, which everybody was saying that you can't go over us, and therefore now the flying is taking place over Syria and Iraq, which is friendly environment now. Right. The whole set, this war has not happened just because Trump turned around and said, oh, I have now come here and I'm going to fight a war. This is a planned operation over last 2 years.
Yes.
Right? There is a reason why it is happening. The political objective of Americans is to seize space which had lost to the Chinese, and we can talk about it later. But coming exactly to Iran's point, in Iraq, do you think they did not know that within it will take them time to take over control? Don't you think that they knew that with Libya experience is going to take time to resolve this issue? They are far more easier to handle than Iran, where there's a layered political, religious, political, military enmeshment which has taken place. You just can't remove the regime.
Yeah.
And they also know that they did not have allies on ground. You cannot have unarmed people rising against a very, very harsh environment. But yet they have gone. The disturbance in the region is okay. But with Ayatollah gone, with those 80 clerics gone, with the next set of people gone, they're trickling down. And as long as there's a chaos, there's no structured people who are targeting the Americans, Israelis, and also aligning with the Chinese in the sense of selling giving the space. I think they are pretty okay as long as the region is in chaos. They are pretty happy. Right?
No, it's not about chaos. But the point is, and that's something which Tom Cooper keeps saying, that once they go guerrilla, there is no answering, or there's no way they can handle it. Now let's come back to the Strait of Hormuz conversation. Yes, Tom. Just quickly calling up this graphic out here to show the kind of traffic that we are seeing. Have a look at the marine traffic through the Strait of Hormuz between the 28th of February 2026 and 3rd March 2026. So this is 28th of February 2026. This is the kind of activity that we are seeing on the Strait of Hormuz.
Northern line is inboard, southern line is outbound.
Outbound. So the outbound traffic is quite heavy. The northern line is the inbound traffic. But the moment we flip this and we look at it as far as the 3rd of March, so let's look at the 3rd of March. And this is the 1st of March. So it's becoming slowly, they're starting to congregate.
And
there is a traffic.
Ever more ships stopping here and not moving in or out.
Not moving in or out because the traffic jam is slowly starting.
No, because obviously somebody there has already signaled, guys, don't go in, don't go out.
Don't go in. Yeah. And then let's move to the next one, 2nd March. It's getting thinner and the clusters are becoming more.
Ever less traffic here foremost. That is most remarkable. And you see just a few relatively small ships. Okay, there are some others as well, but generally the traffic jam is building up.
See, they're also hanging around here, not moving on further. 2nd March, 3rd March, finally
out.
Wow, absolutely gone. Reduced. Quite literally reduced. Now, this is the current scenario till the 3rd of March, viewers. Let's try and understand from Tom and with our experts what is going to take control of the Strait of Hormuz away from Iran.
So,
if these countries here, along with the US, want to dominate the Strait of Hormuz, what do they need to do?
Now it's going to get a little bit ironic. Ironic because the Americans are essentially going to apply the same strategy like the British were applying over Iraq in the 1920s, so-called air policies. That means they're going to patrol the skies over Iran and watch, constantly monitor what is going on the ground and try to intercept any kind of a threat for international shipping here around. In what sense? Any kind of trucks that might be carrying UAVs, any kind of trucks that might be carrying missiles, any kind of combatants that might try to take any kind of action in this area. They're also going to be carefully watching what is going on in all the ports around the Iranian coast, because, for example, one of liquid natural gas carriers yesterday was blown up by a remotely controlled speedboat.
Speedboat, yeah.
Launched from Iran. We must expect similar situation in the coming days. Meanwhile, U.S. Navy is going to try to collect as many ships as possible and then send them, deploy them into the Persian Gulf in order to secure the area from any kind of threats. They are going to deploy mine-hunting helicopters, mine-hunting vessels, and so on. This is going to take 1-2 weeks at least until they have something like semblance of enough warships in order to have permanent presence and escort the tankers in and out.
All right. On that note, let's just call in the war room here. We are like inside the war room with Tom Cooper here on the right stand.
Complete devastation, a direct hit by a missile.
Picture is that the US is not able to defend.
Of a drone of massive, the number of ballistic missiles.
Where is it that Iran is actually placing its resources right now?
Tabriz, Sanandaj, Kermanshah. And this is now what they are doing since yesterday. They are conducting more or less an organized.
US bases have been targeted. Drone has been shot down now.
Iran can then threaten or attack enemy nationals.
A massive missile and drone attack over here.
Iran now has been completely, in some ways, dominated.
With ballistic missile attack. It means the Kuwaiti air defense was under big strain.
That's what we did. We just got inside the war room with Tom Cooper, even as we are trying to discuss the Strait of Hormuz and how the US can take control. So one of the things, General Pandey is also with us. General Pandey, do weigh in. That's the reason why the South was important for the Americans. That's why they said we are now going to control the skies from the South.
Southern Iran.
Yeah. And
before moving in.
Yes. So it's easier for them to move in. And perhaps that's why, General Pandey, the Iranians have damaged the US bases here.
Yes, they were targeting the US bases in order to prevent them from using this. But with the weakening of Iranian capability to continue striking these bases, there is a growing likelihood at least that Americans are going to return to these bases and use them again.
And then they also have their aircraft carriers which can continue to be used. Yes, General Pandey. 2 weeks to take control of the Strait of Hormuz or lesser? Ji.
I'll just firstly, one point I will just say that, look, in Iran, instead of concentrating its effort on one place, has dissipated its effort, right? Unfortunately. And the second thing, what it has done, that the Gulf, which would have not proactively participated in this operation, will now operate. So these are my predictions. So when you say that the strikes have taken place on American bases, doesn't mean that American bases have withered, destroyed, there's nothing left on the ground, all parking, runways, everything has gone diminished. You know, when a runway goes off, it just takes a couple of hours to actually repair it. It's not like what India did to Noor Ali Khan base, that it will take about 8-9 months or a year to come back, right? So they have not been able to do. So one thing which time and again people are talking, that the bases have been destroyed. Yes, one building went, one radar, $1.1 billion in XYZ places gone. I agree, these are diminishing this thing. But that radar is not the only one which is functioning. There are a large number of array of systems are deployed. So let's put one thing aside. The second thing which was being talked of extremely high was the fast attack boats of Iranians.
Yeah, the speedboats, yeah.
Midget submarines,
yeah.
their unarmed systems, their mine link capabilities, which was the most important leverage. Don't come to us, we'll block Hormuz. Now, when you have been announcing this leverage time and again, I'm sure these guys who are planning in America or Israel, not Israel, Israelis are not worried about it, Americans are.
Yeah.
They will take necessary discussions at how we need to ensure that this doesn't happen. When you put in, why do you think that Lincoln was parked in there?
Yeah.
Lincoln was not only parked for looking after the southern eastern part or the western part of Israel. He was Iran. They were mostly focused on Hormuz. They were looking at the southern part, and their entire capability and capacity is now focused, and that is what they're getting after the Navy. They are getting after the Iranian Navy, and they are going to sort out Navy like anything. I believe they have taken out about 17 to 18 ships.
Yeah.
Eventually, when they will seize control of the mountains, which Tom, I'll request you to point, the hills and the mountains above Hormuz and Iranian
the Bandar Abbas, and just behind that you have this entire...
Bandar Abbas is here.
Yeah, no, I'm talking
the
about
mountains.
mountains.
Oh, sorry.
Bandar
Abbas is here, and
correct,
the mountains are here along.
This is
correct. So they will once they will start looking at these mountains and they will start controlling Bandar Abbas, their entire thing. You will find the shift happening in this whole flow of oil, which will start coming. Now, one addition part which we are not taken care of. Iran is not thought. Now the Gulf countries are going to weigh in because eventually whose oil is affected, whose peace is affected. Now Iranians, all the Gulf countries will also secure this side. What is happening is that Iran was able to fire anything which was low end, covering about 100 kilometers worth of this thing, put fire inside. Now, as these things, eventually what will happen is the Gulf countries will take control of the southern side of Hormuz.
This attacking of the Navy, we've just got fresh visuals, so I'm interrupting. Let's have a look at this. This is what Hegseth had confirmed. This is the Iranian frigate Soleimani, or the Iris Dena, being blown up by a torpedo strike, and these are the first visuals that have come. First visuals that it's an American submarine that from below has then blown this up. We're just calling up these here. You have a look at these pictures, viewers. There you go. That's it. It's playing on loop, unclassified, but these are the pictures. Yes, Tom.
So what you can see is the ship, is the front, is the rear, is the bridge, and the mast.
So the hull is what they said that the hull breach happened. Yeah.
It is very quickly over. The torpedo has hit the rear of the ship. You see it here?
Yes.
Caused a massive detonation. Then there is a fire. And then a second torpedo strikes, and that's it. The ship is actually finished.
Ship is gone. It's at the bottom of the ship.
This is a relatively small vessel.
This is it's a frigate. That's what they said. It's a frigate that's been downed.
Relatively, it is. You see that the entire rear stern of the ship is flying above the sea surface.
Okay.
So it's actually a miracle anybody survived from this strike.
Right. Now, so clearly they are now trying to take down the. I'm just going to hand the phone back. They take down the Navy altogether and weaken the Navy. So the moment the Navy is weaker, there is no cover fire here.
Iranian Navy is basically finished.
It's finished.
There is a question what happened with kilo submarines, because they have 3 and they're extremely dangerous. I haven't seen any kind of reports or visual confirmation that they have been disabled, although there are reports that they have been hit.
Right.
That's the first question. The second question are these midget submarines, which could still go out and strike. What I expect that IGC is going to do instead is to use remotely controlled speedboats.
So remotely controlled speedboats. Let's now just quickly change tack. We've got the pictures here, exclusive. First up here on CNN News 18, inside the war room with Tom Cooper. We've got these pictures of the frigate being blown up. Confirmation coming in from the US Secretary Defense Hegseth in his press conference that we are the ones who blew this up. The Sri Lankan Navy came into, because there was a distress call, they came in to help. This was international waters and they rescued about 32 people, but more than 100 are feared dead. And it's all happening in an instant. See, within seconds, the big torpedo, hull breach, and at the rear of the ship, massive explosion. Second one, those are the pictures that we have, the exclusive pictures here. I'm going to shift focus because there's another big conversation that we need to have on what is happening towards the western side.
India. This is crucial for
This
India.
is crucial for India. Why do you say this is crucial for India?
Because for India, it's of crucial importance that now the Strait of Hormuz is soon going to be open for traffic as soon as possible. How long is it going to take? That depends on how fast are the Americans capable of bringing their navy, or the Trump government is capable of convincing local governments to do this on their own.
So is it possible that there could be a caravan, there could be a huge convoy of naval ships of the Gulf countries along with the US naval carriers and air cover from the top, escorting all these ships which are now huddled here on either side and allowing them passage while telling the Iranians to back off? Is that possible? Because then that means that they are all going to be able to come into port and there is a certain sense of security that is given.
It is at least very likely that something very similar is going to happen. I do not expect now necessarily a big convoy or something of that kind, but there will be warships taking stations. For example, like here, one is patrolling here, another is patrolling here, another here. And then they are going to let
all the ships go through a narrow channel.
Move out, and the others, move in.
Move in,
Yes.
So that's what they're going to facilitate. So, but this itself is going to take at least 10 days, if not more, because it's not easy to mobilize, or the sooner they neutralize the entire Iranian defense, air defense from here, then there will be absolute air dominance. Now, the other point, if you're just going to take this out, and let's move towards the west and talk about these entities and the city of Tabriz. Why is the city of Tabriz and this region more important? Let's try and understand, viewers, and focus on Tabriz in Iran. Now, it's believed to host ballistic missiles and also a defense installation facilities. That's Tabriz. But it is also one of the cities which believe that till the time that doesn't fall, the regime continues to exist. Why do you say that, Tom?
It is a little bit hard to explain, but whether it's accident or not, unless the merchants, local people from Tabriz start protesting against the government, it is simply so that the government is not going to, in Tehran, is not going to fall. We have seen again and again and again the protesting in Iran since, for example, 2009, 2010. Everywhere, the people are protesting everywhere. Now in December, in January, they're protesting Mashhad, which is meanwhile the second biggest city in Iran.
This is where they're planning to do the, burial of the Khomeini.
Yes.
Yes.
We have seen protesting in Tehran, in Qom, holy city, center of the Shia clergy, in Esfahan, in Koramabad, Sanandaj, where else? Shiraz. I remember also Bandar Abbas and Bushehr down here. So there was everywhere protesting, except in Tabriz area.
Yeah.
So in 1979, the things started changing. It was very similar to now, and it was even similar in regards of the casualties of victims of the regime. Back then, the Shah regime opened fire, killed protesters. There are videos showing them moving people down, really like with a broom, just with machine guns.
Right.
But then there was protesting in Tabriz, and with this, there was protesting in Tabriz, and with then the Shah was finished. He has packed his luggage and traveled out.
So the moment there are protests in Tabriz, then the Shah, even in the past we've seen that the regime or whatever is the government in Iran falls. That's the history behind Tabriz and the importance as per Tom Cooper. Even as we have these pictures right behind us, the big visuals of the frigate being blown up. General Pandey, on the one hand, the Navy is being weakened. On the other hand, there are the Kurds who are being engaged in that very region to enter that region of Tabriz from perhaps Iraq and that region. There is also a certain level of Kurdish dominance. Do you think there is a concentrated strategy that is now evolving to totally destabilize not just the regime, but also the control of the IRGC? General Pandey.
Yeah, so, there is a challenge of the contradiction of supporting the Kurds on the ground is that the entire region, when you say not only Iran, the neighboring environment will go under some sort of a problem. And that is where the contradiction comes. The moment you support the Kurds, the hardline Iranians who are patriotic, they may be with the regime, may not with the regime, it becomes slightly more challenging. But I feel that the day Khamenei gets buried, right? And the second is, as the time will go away from the death of the girl students who got hit, and maybe the narrative may turn out to be a little changing narrative or accepting the fault, or at least blaming the IRGC or the Iranian leadership for the death of the girls. As long these two things will happen, you'll find the shift taking place. And eventually, what was Tabriz about 10 years back and what is today, there's again a shift even in Tabriz, because eventually the sanctions today have started hurting the entire IRGC, which runs the economic, they've got a huge amount of economic investment and control. And the merchants are also technically part of this whole game plan. So I have a feeling, and this is what I think the Americans also would be looking at, bomb the center, bomb the hardcore areas, but start rolling up from the sides as well, right? And while these 31 units which have gone out into the remote areas, which the foreign minister was saying they are going to be operating on their own, but eventually when you have this air cover and you are looking at anybody who moves out and gets shot at, and when they'll see that, okay, nuclear ambition gone, the top leadership gone, and oh, by the way, the Hormuz, which was our leverage, is now being opened up with the joint effort of the Gulf and the Americans. They are going to change turn. After all, ideology is very, very important. Radical ideology is more important. But money plays a role. And I just told you that Houthis have not yet fired a single shot.
Right.
Very straight.
Tom.
Right.
Tom.
Let me explain you a little bit how that with Tabriz works. We have the merchants.
Yeah.
That is one group.
Yeah.
Then we have telecommunications, or banks and insurances.
Okay.
Then we have telecommunications, as I said, we have real estate, we have construction business.
Okay.
Each of these groups, each of these sectors of the economy is controlled by one group of the IGC.
Right.
So, now the question is who is pro what and who is loyal to whom?
Right.
And what do they consider as their outlooks if there is a regime change?
Right.
So, if there appears somebody who can tell them, okay, you are going to remain relevant, they're going to say, oh, thank you very much, IGC, go back from wherever you came, and are going to turn against it.
Right.
But if not, then not. And this is now the problem. The US allies in northern Iraq are foremost PKK, which is actually a quasi Maoist terrorist organization from Turkey, of Turkish Kurds, not from Syria or from Iraq. And it's outshot, or some kind of ally, Pajak, which is actually Iranian offshot, offshot of PKK. And they are, well, they are turncoats, most of all. So expecting from them now to go to liberating Tabriz, excuse me, this is...
It's a little far-fetched is what Tom Cooper is saying. The PKK, the MEK, what are they going to do? We'll talk about that. What's China doing? Where is the Chinese social media machinery that was active in Operation Sindoor? These are all questions that remain. But you've got to stay with us here in the War Room for us to break that down. And we'll do that in the coming days. But for the moment, you see those pictures on your screens, viewers? That frigate has gone up, kaboom, like that. That means the American submarines are also wading into the waters. So if the Iranians have mini subs, do they have the tech to counter perhaps the most powerful naval force in the world, who are there to try and free up the Strait of Hormuz? And that's where it is. The moment the Strait of Hormuz is under the American or the Ally control on this side, and the Gulf nations weave a sigh of relief, that means things are going to change, and the shape of this war itself will change. Agree, disagree, Tom Cooper, that till the time the Iranians hold that jugular, they'll think that they're still in the hunt. The moment this jugular is released.
It's like this, and if it comes out like this, then things are going to change.
Things are going to change. Well, that's where it is. That's all we have time for in this edition. General Pandey, Tom Cooper, pleasure as always. Stay with us. The coverage continues.